All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. If there's anyone here, we're here today to discuss Ophelia After All. I have it on my little display thing. Did you have a physical copy or no?
No, I got an arc of it.
Oh yeah, I did too, but I never even opened it. I just read it when I bought it, but it's really beautiful. So I guess we could start off with star ratings. I'll go first. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I love this book. What did you give it?
I gave it 4 stars.
4 stars. Is there anything that kind of like?
It's just very young. Like I mean, it's a young adult book, so it's not. I know if I had read it when I was in high school, I probably would have given it 5 stars, but yeah, I don't know. Well, we could get into like some of the things that I didn't like too much about it.
Yeah.
It just felt a little bit juvenile to me, which isn't a negative thing. It's just like I also don't read that much young adult contemporary, so it just was very young for me. Very young for me, but I liked it. Like I think it is a good book. I think it's important to have. And I did like the writing, but it was very young.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't know if it's because I crave for that type of like young type of story, because I've been liking a lot of middle grade right now. So I don't know if I'm just like during that like a phase where
I love middle grade.
Yeah.
But for me, young adult and middle grade are so different. Like I don't know. And I also teach like young kids, so I do read a lot of middle grade to them, but like and in class, I don't know. Young adult is different for me because I guess like I'm closer to that age range, like to relate to that more. And then some of the things I'm like, oh, these are like very trivial, and I'm not a fan of those in YA books.
Yeah.
Particularly, that's why I don't read YA contemporary usually. I read YA fantasy.
Yeah. This to me felt like really nostalgic, I guess. It just reminded me of a lot of things that I've read that I love. And I think like some of the comparisons are obviously like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda and like Heartstopper. That's what it reminded me of. And I just love that obviously our main character is female. And I feel like a lot of the really popular books that are queer and they're young adult usually feature gay boys. So I just thought that was really special, and it's just really different, I feel like, because I don't think we see a lot of those type of books. But definitely anything else that Raquel Marie writes, I'm definitely going to be reading because I loved this book.
Oh yeah, I mean, I loved her writing, and I love her as a person also. Like I followed her YouTube channel for years, so to see her like finally have a book published was really amazing.
Yeah, I shared this discussion on Twitter and she retweeted it, and I was like, oh my god. She's so cute.
She's awesome.
Hi, Alicia. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always supporting us, Alicia.
I know.
You're always here. Alicia gave it 3 stars. I actually don't know if she did like a little mini book review on her post. I decided not to read it because I wanted to hear her thoughts during this live. But I'm wondering, Alicia, why did you give it a 3-star?
She said the same thing I did. It was very
okay. Let's agree, very young. Okay. Yeah. I feel that like I will say like with that book called You Should See Me Crown. If you ever read that, I feel like that was very, very young, like not really young adult. And there was a difference between that one and this one. I don't know what the difference is.
You thought You Should See Me in a Crown read younger?
In my opinion. Like, to me, that read young. But I don't think Ophelia, in my opinion, Ophelia, after all, didn't really read that young.
I mean, I read You Should See Me in a Crown like 2 years ago, so I don't remember. But I mean, I gave that book 4.5 stars when I read it. I don't remember anything about it, though. So
I don't either.
But I don't remember thinking it read young. Yeah, but that's also like me 2 years ago. I read a lot of young adult contemporary. I don't read that much young adult contemporary anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. So maybe that's maybe a reason why I also like this so much, because it's so different from what I've been reading.
Yeah. Like I prefer to read adult. If I'm going to read I rarely read contemporary. If I'm going to read a contemporary novel, I rather read an adult book. Just not that I have to relate to everything, but I just don't necessarily care about a lot of the issues that like young people face, because like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in that age group, like but that's usually why I don't read young adult contemporary.
Yeah.
But I did like it. Like it's not I think that adult fiction in general has a long way to go with diversity.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably should be picking up more um young adult, because there are so many diverse books.
Yeah. I will say, like, I didn't have a lot of dislikes because I have like a little section of like what I loved and what I disliked. And the only thing that I could really think of was that I did not like that little love triangle thing and like that
Yeah.
miscommunication there. That was the only thing that I didn't really like, and I guess that's where I agree with you with the whole like the trials and tribulations of like young adults, like whatever they go
Yeah.
through and not really caring in that aspect. I didn't care for that because it was just miscommunication and it
Yeah.
was kind of
And I
annoying.
usually don't mind miscommunication, like if it's in an adult romance book, if it's about something that's like very serious. A
Yes, I
serious.
agree. Hmm.
But they're just so young, like when you're that age, everything is miscommunication, because like you always misread stuff. So like for me,
Yeah,
it's like, okay, well, I
I
don't.
guess reading it like now as an adult, you're like, dude, like it really doesn't matter. Like whatever happens in high school, like it really doesn't
No,
matter. But in their minds, it
of
does.
course, like it's like
Yeah.
the end of the world. I was so dramatic too in high school. So.
Hi, Melda. Thank you for coming. I agree. It did read young. Um, Lisa says, that's one thing I did love about the book, the emphasis on her journey rather than her love interest or romance.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we're gonna talk about spoilers now, but I my favorite thing about this book too was that it didn't really necessarily have like a happy ending when it came
Hmm.
to like the romance specifically.
Hmm.
Like, because I feel like for Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, like in comparison, I feel like that's obviously very unrealistic,
Hmm.
that like that whole thing that happened with them, and also like that universe they also have love Victor, and also the romance there. I thought that was very unrealistic too, because usually for like queer people it doesn't really work out that way when you're in high school and like the one hot guy or the one hot person that you're interested in happens to be queer too.
Hmm.
So that's the one thing that I really liked about this book, that it didn't necessarily end with them being together, but like
Hmm.
all the other journeys that she was going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a young
Mhm.
adult romance, so it's like a young adult contemporary. So
Mhm.
I guess like that's what I liked too, that we are getting a story about a Latinx person, and it's not a romance focused story.
Yeah. And let me get my notes out. But let me see. I wrote something. Oh, one of my favorite things that this book talked about was like the expectations that everyone had of Ophelia, or the way that they like perceived her, and how scared she was going outside of those things.
Mhm.
I really loved like that whole conversation. I mean, the whole book pretty much
Yeah,
is revolves around that
yeah.
aspect. Um, Elisa said, I don't know how to put this into words, but some of it also felt unreal. Her woke, socially conscious dad, although refreshing to see, didn't feel like a typical Latino dad
Yeah.
reaction, and the characters felt. That's really true too. Um,
Especially Cuban.
yeah,
Cuban
that's
people are not, in general, like, are not liberal at all. Because anything that's liberal, smells liberal, is communism. So that to me was like very, very unrealistic.
yeah.
So I agree with that. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, I think I knew that from you, like knowing what you just mentioned. I will say, like, they did kind of touch on that whole thing about like family members being homophobic and everything with the Puerto Rican character, which was Talia and her family, and them not accepting her. So I guess she touched on it, but I guess it would have made more sense. I don't know if it was because she's the main character of the story. They didn't really go into too much depth from what I remember about the parents and how long they've lived in the United States.
And she might be writing from her, like, I don't know what her family dynamic is, but she might be writing from her like perspective of what her father is. And that could have inspired it totally. But in general, especially Cuban people are extremely conservative.
Yeah. Hispanic people in general, like it usually is like that, yeah. And then I feel like in the book, the mom, it wasn't specifically about her like sexuality, but her mom was like more hard on her than her dad was in the book. Equally mature and immature at the same time, says Alicia.
I could see that. But I feel like that also goes with the like demographic.
Yeah, I think I was doing some research on the book and stuff today, and I think that like the target audience is like 14 to 18 years old.
Yeah.
It's a young adult.
And if I will say probably if I had read this before I read, because I read A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, and I did give that 5 stars, but that was the first YA contemporary book that I read that had a Latinx main character. So I did give that 5 stars. That was like 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. So maybe if I had read this book at a different time, I probably would have given it 5 stars.
No.
Also.
Jolie said, I agree that you should see me in a crown read younger. I agree too.
I just have no recollection of what that book.
That book was about the like young girl. I think she's a senior, and
I know she's trying to
get a scholarship.
Yeah, she tries to win prom queen because she doesn't have money to go to her like dream school. But I just don't remember.
I don't remember really what happens with like the love, with the romance in that book. I don't remember very well. Alicia said, my last critique is that it focused on telling instead of showing, especially around terminology, but I guess it makes sense since it is YA.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice that while I was reading it, but I guess looking back on it, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't really bother me while I was reading it. It was nice to see what a supportive parent, though it warmed my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I feel like a lot of queer books recently, though, like Simon and I think Heartstopper 2, I don't want to spoil anything, but Volume 4 kind of touches a little bit on like family being homophobic. But yeah, I agree with that. Let me get my notes. Yeah, I compared it to Simon vs. Sapiens Agenda. I think one thing that I really liked was Talia and how she was bisexual, and I mean, this is a spoiler, but she ends up being with someone from the opposite sex. I liked that conversation a lot because when you're bisexual and you're with someone from the opposite sex, like her family was just kind of being like, oh, you were like going through a phase, or she didn't want to tell her family because they were going to think that she's like going through a phase or something because now she's with a man. So they didn't really believe her about like her sexuality.
Yeah, and that's a big topic in the bi community, like when you are with a partner of the opposite sex, that a lot of people still don't see you necessarily a part of the LGBTQIA+ community.
Alyssa said yes. I love that part.
Me too. And I don't think I've read a book that has had that before. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think I have. Or that has had that discussion either.
About bisexuality?
Yeah. Where a character is with the opposite.
I do remember The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. She doesn't like end up with anyone like a man, but she does talk about it. Like, remember when the lady's like interviewing her, and she's like, "Oh, so you're here to say that you're gay?" And she's like, "No, you haven't been listening to me. Like, I'm bisexual," type of thing. So I do remember that I really like too.
Yeah, but I think this has a little bit more of a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's just like I mean, that's an overall theme, but it's not heavily discussed in Evelyn. Because Evelyn Hugo is focusing more on, in my opinion, homophobia in the film industry.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, we already kind of talked about Hispanic culture and like the stigma around queerness. I will say one of my favorite things was like all of the representation in this book. So like, I didn't know that Talia was gonna be a Puerto Rican character, and as well as like we had an Asian character who is actually my favorite, but I cannot remember his name for the life of me. He was my favorite character. I don't. Did you have a favorite character that wasn't Ophelia?
I did like Talia a lot. So I'd probably say like other than Ophelia, it would probably have been her.
Talia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the Asian boy, but I cannot remember his name. I tried looking it up. I was like, I couldn't find it. Wesley.
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 That's what it is.
Because it was Wesley, and then it was the other boy who was Ophelia's best friend. Can't remember his name either. And then there was Agatha, like her best friend, and then the pretty girl. I think it was Lindsay. That both of the boys were fighting over. But yeah, Wesley was my favorite. He was a true cinnamon roll. I loved him. Sammy, oh my god. Jolie, did you just finish this book or something? I read this book in like 24 hours, so
yeah, I read it in a day. Yeah, I listened to the audiobook at 3 times speed, so
it was a really quick read. I haven't read Evelyn Hugo. You definitely should, Alicia. It's really good.
Yes, it's so good.
Yes. Oh, you did just finish it. That's funny.
Yeah, I finished it like last week. I don't remember. Honestly, I was trying to get through it because I wanted to read House of Sky and Breath. So.
Oh. Oh my god. Unrelated completely, but did you see the news about Ninth House?
Yes. Jayla and I have been talking about it. I saw it. Jayla posted on her story. Yes. And I was like, when Lee Bardugo posted that story of her like talking about editing it, and I was like, Jayla, finally. I don't want anything else. I don't care about the Grishaverse, so I don't want anything else from there.
Yeah, I was excited. I just finished it because I was avoiding reading Hamlet, which is ironic.
I love Hamlet.
Like the past 3 days. What news? Lee Bardugo just posted on her story that she's working on like finishing editing the second book for the Ninth House series, and that a release date is coming soon, which I'm excited about.
And a cover reveal.
Oh my god, I can't wait for the title. But yeah, I'm excited because I'll be able to plan my reread soon because I've been staring at Ninth House. I need to reread it, and I want to get it in hardback because I have it paperback. So I'm not really a Shakespeare fan because I'm dumb and don't understand it, but I love the Hamlet references in the book.
I love Hamlet. That's one of my favorite Shakespeare shows.
Yeah. I know nothing about Shakespeare, so I did not catch these references that y'all are talking about right now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh, really? I had no idea. I would have never known. Let me see what else we have here. So yeah, a lot of the representation I loved. I loved that Talia was Puerto Rican, obviously Ophelia Cuban, so there was a lot more like Hispanic representation. I loved Agatha too, and I loved like the plus size rep because she's kind of like a designer is what they talked about. I'm not sure if she was plus size herself. I'm assuming, but I think she was. Yeah, I think the only description that we really got from that was when she was talking about her designs, and I think she mentioned that they were like kind of for her. and they talked a little bit about like imposter syndrome when they were talking about Agatha and how she wants to get into school, and she was kind of comparing herself to all these other designers that she felt like they were doing better than her because they've been doing it for longer or whatever. So I felt very represented with that. Oh, hi, Sarah. I did not read this book. We wanted to say hi and listen to your thoughts. Thanks for coming. I think you'd like this book, actually, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah would. Same. I didn't catch any. Nope. I no idea because I don't know anything about Shakespeare, to be honest. Hello, I am late, but I love this book. Thank you for coming, Michelle. I love this book too. I give
I
it
did
5
enjoy it.
stars.
I did really, really like it.
Mhm.
It's not
We
like
all
a book of all time, but I did really enjoy it. I had a good
it
time
seems
reading.
like yeah, it seems like everyone in the chat pretty much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even like a 3 star is not necessarily like a bad
No,
uh
no, no.
yeah. But Michelle, did you give it 4 or 5 stars? Let us know what were some of your favorite parts of the book. Yeah. Uh like I said, my favorite character was Wesley. I'm just looking through my notes right now. Oh, you know what thing that I loved was that I was expecting like Ophelia, like her favorite hobby or like her hobby that she likes to do. I was expecting it to be reading because usually like these type of books that are younger and the author puts themselves a lot in the book. Like I've noticed in YA, usually the main character loves reading. Um but I loved that her hobby was gardening. It was so different. Like I didn't know anything about it, and then I figured like the cover, it has so many roses and stuff. Like I didn't really get the reference, but now we know that she loved gardening
Yeah.
and the flowers. It was so cute. Michelle gave it 4 stars. Loved the queer journey and that it wasn't about a relationship, but more about finding herself.
Yeah.
I agree too. I also loved the ending, by the way. That was like one of my favorite endings ever. With the girl at the LGBT center. Did you have like a favorite scene in the book?
No, not particularly.
I think for me, it was probably when it wasn't Wesley. It was Talia or Talia's friend that they take her to the LGBT center for the first time. Uh, I think that was probably like my favorite scene when they go to the LGBT center. Um, Also, a character that I completely hated was her ex-boyfriend. How annoying, God. And she also annoyed me with that whole like, I'm gonna prom with you. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Like when she kept going
I
back.
related to that because that was me and my ex-boyfriend during prom.
Oh
And we
no.
did
I
go
was
together.
like, girl, you're annoying. I was like, hell no. I did not like that dude either. It was so stupid. I didn't get like he could have not been in the book, honestly. Yes, I already talked about how I liked that it wasn't really a happily ever after type of story. Um, yeah, I would again. I do love me a love triangle, but um, not this one. It was kind of annoying because I feel like usually when you read a love triangle, you usually are reading it from the person that is in love with two people, but when you read it from the perspective of someone who like their best friend is in that love triangle and this person's like venting, it's just kind of annoying. And it wasn't really enjoyable, like that whole love triangle
No, I didn't.
situation
Yeah,
in the
I didn't care. I did not care for that.
book. It was Wesley. Wesley, yes. Okay, Jolie, thank you for being here because I don't remember how long ago I read this book, but I can't remember anything. Yes, Wesley takes her to the LGBT center, um, and when they cut school that one day, I think. I gave it 4 stars. I like the friendships. I did also really love their friend group, and their dynamic. But again, I feel like that was so unrealistic. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was like lonely in high school and I didn't have like that many friends. But like, how do all these kids have like cool friend groups? Like, I don't get it. I don't know. I think
I
you have
related to that.
good. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never
I had
heard
a really, really good, strong friend group in both middle school and high school, so
can relate, but I think I'm just jealous. Honestly. I didn't like the love triangle at all though. Yeah, I didn't either really. It was stupid. And when Lindsay kind of like tells them like I'm just kind of stringing them along cuz I don't really see them like after high school. I thought that was annoying. Yeah, Lindsay was also my least favorite in a way.
Mm.
Um the ex-boyfriend's definitely like my least favorite, but Lindsay did say a lot of dumb shit. And I was like, what? Like, if you don't think that you're gonna be with any of these boys after high school, just like let them be, type of thing. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, the love triangle was necessary. I agree too. I mean, it did spice up the book a little bit. There was a little bit of drama, but yeah, Lindsay was annoying with all that though. Same Naomi. I do actually like love triangles, but not this one.
Yes,
Yeah, I also think. Yeah, I also think it's like it was like the perspective that you're reading it from, because you're pretty much in Ophelia's head, and then you're just listening to this love triangle from the people that are in it, kind of venting
Mhm.
about it. So not only the friend groups, but the parents just let them go out with like no questions. I know, and Hispanic people also.
Never,
It's so unrealistic because my mom would have never. And I know
never.
so many Hispanic people, like I'm assuming also Cami, um, that like I would have not been able to go out like that in high school.
N
Like
No,
there's no
I had to, like, text where I was going, my mom know whose parents were gonna be there, like,
way.
she had to know everyone that was gonna be there. Like, one time I remember there was, like, a party and there was alcohol at the party. Oh my god, I got in so trouble. So I didn't drink, but, like, I got in so much trouble for just being there.
Yeah. I that also reminded me like Joey talking about the parents. The scene where she's at the party or like it's her mom's cuz she's like a professor, right?
Mhm.
And that boy says something about her or just about like something homophobic and she throws a drink at him. I was like that's so dramatic. And then her mom and her like beefing over this little thing. And I didn't like how her mom handled it. It was just like you should be on your daughter's side, I felt like. I do get like she's a teacher and it
Mhm.
looks bad, I guess. But I don't know. I thought that was a little weird. Um I moved schools halfway through high school. It sucked because I didn't really get close to anyone during my last 2 years. I was also a lonely nerd high schooler with no friends. Yes. I mean, I moved from Puerto Rico to the United States when I started ninth grade. So like high school. And I had a group of friends like freshman year, but I've always been like more like a lonely person. So I kind of cut them all out because they were also like they would just like to start drama and like talk behind your back and stuff. So I just kind of cut them all out. And like it was better, but I also didn't get like the full like high school experience and all of that. Um like going out and all of that. So
Yeah, my high school was only 46 kids, so we didn't have a choice. We had to be friends.
no, no, my high school. I remember like I met for the first time the two people sitting right next to me at graduation. Like I've never seen these people before.
That's
I
wild.
was in a big
I
big
was
thing.
sobbing during high school. I, like, was so crying so much during high school graduation. Oh my god.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I couldn't care less. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
we went through a lot together, so
Mm.
a lot
Um,
of
the going out was unrealistic for me too, and Sammy having a key to their house, never. Sammy was the boy, yes.
mm.
And also like didn't she mention that like he stayed the night or something?
Yeah.
And I was like,
What
what?
house? Not mine. Oh, no.
I was like, a boy? And then the fact that her parents were also kind of like thinking that they were secretly dating or something. I'm like, why would you let this boy stay over or like all like that in her room? Also because my mom would have never. Like I'm
Mm-mm.
23 years old and this was like the first time like my boyfriend is the first boy that I ever have in my room because my mom is very strict about all
No.
that. So
I mean, I've had boys in my room, but they've all been gay, so Doesn't like.
Yeah. My stepdad would literally pick me up and drop me off, and he would talk to the parents before they dropped me off. It was the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, and showing up at 3 a.m.
My mom,
Oh yeah, that happened in the book when the
yeah.
boy, Sammy? Yeah, Sammy. He just comes in the house and is screaming. I'm like, what?
My mom would have been like, "Who are you?" Should have grabbed the machete.
Yeah, who goes to someone's house at 3 a.m.? These books, they're not very realistic. For real, unless that house is Waffle House. Yes.
Oh, Waffle House.
Oh, it's funny. LOL, you're right. Cammy, that is wild to me. My grade alone was 600 to 800 people.
Mm-hmm.
So in total, there were more than 2,000. Yeah, my school too. It was huge. I
Yeah.
think mine might have been like 400 to 500, but it was huge.
The max for each grade was 50 students. So like, yeah. Well, because my school you had to test to get into it, and then you for my school particularly, you had to audition also to get in. So like,
I forget, yeah. Yeah. I
it
just went to a
was
regular old public school.
like, so when I applied to college, like all of the applications from my school, they got preferential treatment because like our curriculum was harder. So like a B in our curriculum was like an A in a regular high school.
Was that a private school?
No, it was a public school. It's for like it was for all of a certain county in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lived in that county, you could go to that school. Like I wasn't going to go to my town's high school because it's like, no offense, it's ghetto. Like, like my bus stop was there. So my friend like literally got held at gunpoint one time, like at school.
Oh no.
So like, my mom didn't want me to go there. And so I would have gone to Catholic school if I didn't get into the high school that I went to, but it was free. So, which was nice. And then I got a free year of college with that. So,
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
God, I just literally got a call today about like my student loans starting back up in May, I think.
Yeah.
Ah! I want to die. Oh god. Those were all the notes and like thoughts that I had on the book. Did you have anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to add, or anyone else in the chat? You're all good. Oh, never mind. Oh. My graduation class was 100, the biggest for the school. My sister was 26, like 26 people. I thought you were gonna say 26 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's like different when you go to a small high school. Like you have to become friends. And we were a theater school, so like we would wake up at 8 a.m. and we'd have a theater class, and we'd have to be like, okay, spill your deepest, darkest secrets to everyone.
And also, I feel like the fact that you guys all had the same like interests, like theater.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for me, like I had one friend who I don't even speak to anymore. And the reason why we were so close was because we loved reading. And I feel like besides me and her, like we didn't really know anybody else that liked reading as much as we did. Was your school an indoor or outdoor?
Oh, it was indoor. It was like a regular high school. You just had to test to get it's called magnet schools. And so you just have to test to get into it. Or in my school, you had to test and audition because it was a theater school. But yeah, we were indoor. So like my campus, it was like it's kind of like a college campus. Like each building has its own major. So like there was the health and sciences building, there was the technology building, there was the vocational school, and then there was the math school. So like
I grew up watching shows with indoor schools and I thought they were fake. I went to an outdoor school. You mean like the building, right? Like an outdoor school, you're just saying
you're
you're
just outside.
Okay, so I went to an outdoor school in Puerto Rico, but all schools are out like that in Puerto Rico. Like they don't really, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was indoor.
That's so funny. You thought they were fake.
In New Jersey, we could never be outdoor. It gets
what I was thinking. It
winter.
gets cold at some point during the year, but at least it's in Portland, right? So it doesn't really get cold down there.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It rains a lot.
Also, Alicia, I'm probably coming to, well, I'm going to LA probably in the summer. So get to planning to come to LA. Like Zoe 101. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, like that's what our campus was like. We did have like an outdoor we did have an outdoor courtyard, but that was like because we had a free period, so that's where we would just go during free period.
Right.
If it was nice out. When it was cold, we weren't allowed to go outside.
We didn't have indoor hallways from class to class. Exactly. Yeah,
Mm.
that's how it was for me in Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to school in in SoCal. Ooh,
Oh, okay. That makes sense though, why we wouldn't have
hit me
hallways.
up, girl. I got you. I feel like it's a long ass drive for you, but I think there's like a wrestling show in LA sometime in June. That's why. But I'm gonna like do other things while I'm in LA probably. Also, Manny's gonna be in Delaware. Isn't that like close to ish?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours.
Well, he's gonna be in Delaware for like the next
It's
two
like
to
right next to Renee.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, we had this conversation. I think I feel
Mhm.
yeah, he's gonna be down there for like 3 weeks ish. But yeah, thank you guys for joining and talking about
Yeah.
this book. I I'm not gonna say that's one of my favorites that we've chosen. I think it's probably still Educated Adivina, but
Yeah, my favorite.
it's a close second.
I have I'm really gonna love the Ghost Squad though.
So what?
I think I'm gonna really love Ghost Squad.
Oh yeah, here we are. This is our March pick, Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega. I keep seeing like that it's Ghostbusters meets Stranger Things and Coco, and like that's the best description I've ever heard. So I'm excited to read this. It's super short too. I got it from the
Yeah.
library because yes.
Yeah, I have the they had do if you do have Spotify, they have the audiobook on Spotify.
What? I do
Mhm.
have Spotify. Interesting.
Yeah, they have the audiobook on Spotify.
The font is so big. Like
Mhm.
I feel like this book's like 200 pages, but it's probably like only like 100-ish.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Ooh, bye, love's gotta go. I'm still at work. Bye, Alicia. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're about to go too. But yeah, like we said, this is the next book club pick. We announced the picks for March, April, May, and June. We picked it, but on the Instagram, there's the only next three. Excited to read it now. We are too.
Yeah. Wait.
But yeah. Thank you all for joining. And next live show will be on Cammy's channel.
Mhm.
We will see you over there next time.
Yes.
Bye.